Welcome back to Math Appeal. You sick and tired of heartburn? Well, joining us now is Craig Fear. He's the author of the ebook, The 30-Day Heartburn Solution, a 3-step nutrition program to stop acid reflux without drugs, and you're going to tell us all about heartburn. In layman's terms, what actually is heartburn?
Heartburn is when stomach acid refluxes into your esophagus. Now, we make stomach acid normally. We have millions of acid-producing cells in our stomach, but we don't feel it under normal conditions because we have a mucosal barrier between the acid and our stomach lining. But if it gets into the esophagus, we don't have that protective mucosal barrier, so some of that acid hits that lining and it burns, and that's heartburn.
So so when basically, literally, when it comes up, that's what you call coming up on you, that's when you're getting heartburn. Yeah. Now, GERD, GERD, that's another ailment. Tell us a little bit about that, too.
GERD is an acronym that stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease, and that's chronic acid reflux. So when the acid is on more than a rare occasion, continually getting into the esophagus, and that's a problem because that can lead to something called Barrett's esophagus. It could even lead to esophageal cancer, and it can damage the lining of the esophagus. So we don't want heartburn to progress to GERD. Now,
Craig, we were talking earlier. I think it's a common misconception. A lot of people think that acid and heartburn and all that's caused from too much acid in the stomach. Yeah. And that's not necessarily true.
No, that's the conventional belief, and it makes some intuitive sense. Oh, you know, I get this burning, I get heartburn, and it makes sense to think, well, I'm producing too much acid, and that's what doctors tell people. But the way I explain it is as we age, our digestive fire weakens a bit. And as everything as we age, our hormones, our vision, right? Yeah. So our digestive fire gets a little compromised as we get age. It's normal. So if acid reflux is caused by too much acid, then why don't younger people get more acid reflux than older people? Because it becomes more common as we get older. So the real reason is that our digestive fire, that acid production, can weaken. And it's usually because of poor diet, poor lifestyle. And the analogy I make is that acid in our stomach is akin to a blender. We need that acid production to be strong for our digestive fire to be strong. And if that gets compromised for whatever reason through the years, it's like that blender comes down to medium, high, medium, and food kind of sits in our stomach too long. We feel bloated, we feel heavy, we feel nauseous. And that food in that warm, moist environment in our stomach can expand, can give off various gases. It can start to put pressure on that lower esophageal sphincter, that valve that separates our esophagus from our stomach, and food can reflux in and cause heartburn. So the underlying reason is poor digestive fire, not good enough acid production.
Well, and it's kind of the same parallel. You know, if you work out all the time, those muscles are going to work and they're going to be great. If you let them atrophy, they won't work as well. So the same thing's true. If you practice good digestive health, right, you'll be a little bit in better shape. So how do we get our digestive health in better shape when it comes to preventing heartburn?
Well, we want to eat good foods that promote good digestion, and that's what I help people with in my book. And when people come to see me, good fermented foods are great for good digestion. The big thing we want to do is really want to get off of kind of just processed foods, high sugar, highly processed carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. They can ferment in the stomach and cause a lot of digestive problems.
And so a great tip that you have too is people can try going grain and gluten-free for a couple of weeks just to see how that impacts them.
Step one, I always tell people, go grain-free as a trial period for 2 weeks, a minimum of 2 weeks. Some people need to go longer. But that will get you away from a lot of processed foods. You'll also be doing a gluten-free trial because gluten can be very inflammatory for some people. And grains themselves can be inflammatory. So we take out what can be what can cause the acid reflux and bring in some good healing foods in the process.
Now, if we do all of these things and improve our dietary health, does it eliminate our need for over-the-counter medicines, you know, the ones that help you fight the stomach acid?
Yeah, so the problem with heartburn medications is that they work.
And it's like the easy way out almost.
It's the easy way out. So there's two types. There's the acid neutralizers like your Tums, your Rolaids, and then there's your acid blockers, which are like your Prilosec, your Nexium, Zantac. Those are much more high-tech. And those acid blockers, which are now very commonly prescribed, now we can get them over the counter, is they shut down the acid-producing cells in our stomach. Well, when you do that over time, there's consequences. So when we chronically lower our stomach acid, we need that stomach acid to digest our food, to break down our food. We're setting the stage for nutrient deficiencies. We're setting the stage for bone fractures. Now studies show that long-term use of these acid blockers set the stage for deficiencies in vitamin B12, minerals, set the stage for bone fractures because we're not digesting, breaking down those minerals properly, and they set the stage for further digestive problems.
So maybe then before one heads to the store, try these natural changes first, because it's the first step. It's making you healthier and your whole body healthier so that as you age, it doesn't atrophy into bad digestive health.
It's so easy to stop heartburn dietarily speaking. It's just a few simple basic changes. Really got to get off those kind of processed foods, sugars, refined carbohydrates, and that'll just go such a long way to improving your digestive health.
And lastly, let's talk triggers, because a lot of people, they say to themselves, oh, you know what, I have spicy foods and that's the end of it for me. If you practice proper dietary health, can you have these things like spicy foods and onions and garlic, or do you still need to just watch yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to watch yourself. It's always good advice to avoid your triggers. But I tell people down the line, we might be able to bring some of those things back in moderation if we're practicing good digestive health and we're healing the lining of our digestive tract.
Well, you know, it's so funny. I talked to people, and someone the other day, and said, oh man, I wish I could still eat buffalo chicken. I can't do it anymore. So maybe if they start practicing all these changes, they'll be able to reincorporate it into their diet.
Yeah.
Craig, it's a pleasure having you here. Thanks for all these tips. I'm sure you helped a lot of people out there. And next on Massive